Hello, everyone. This is Regina Sun, and welcome to today's Legal Moment. Last Wednesday, during the presidential debates, Governor Romney criticized President Obama's lack of reliance on the recommendations from the Simpson Bowles Commission. Now, via Twitter, a lot of people stated they didn't know what the Simpson Bowles Commission was and that they were frustrated that the candidates were discussing it without explaining it to the listeners. So today's topic is to articulate what it is that the Simpson Bowles does, as well as some of their recommendations to decrease the deficit. Now, the Simpson Bowles Commission consists of members from both Republican and Democratic parties selected to provide solutions to decrease the national debt. Now, these members had about 8 months to collect information, review the information, and provide recommendations on decreasing the debt. Some of the recommendations that they provided are the following. They stated that there should be a cap revenue at 21% of the gross domestic product, as well as a cap on government spending of 22% of that revenue. So there you have a balanced revenue and spending expenditure. It recommended $50 billion in cuts. It recommended to cut agricultural subsidies and update military and civil retirement systems. It recommended that federal departments work with the Office of Management and Budget to cut discretionary spending. It also encouraged the Government Accountability Office to review additional redundancies and therefore, if some surface, to have those cut from spending. It also encouraged the initiation of firewall creations by departments. And what that is once a department receives their budget or their allocated funds, they are to set aside a certain amount as a firewall creation or as a savings. And therefore, they aren't to spend that money unless there's an emergency. It hopes of encouraging them to spend less than they're actually given. Another initiative was to establish a disaster relief fund to avoid the use of emergency spending. Now, disaster relief is like Hurricane Katrina or any type of national catastrophic measure that requires the federal government to go into their emergency spending in order to fund relief. And here the commission is stating that the government should go ahead and have a line item for such relief so that it is not using emergency spending to fund it. Another initiative was to increase the gas tax by 15% per gallon and therefore use that actual funding or that increase on tax to fund transportation. Another initiative is to consolidate duplicate federal programs, and the commission stated that there are at least 44 job training programs that should be consolidated, 20 programs for the study of invasive species that should be consolidated, and 105 programs encouraging math, science, and technology studies that should be consolidated. Another initiative that probably is definitely more pertaining to individuals is to cut the number of mortgage tax deductions that a person can take. Not only cut it, but reduce it to only one tax deduction on mortgage, and that is for the principal residence. It also encouraged the use of 3 tax brackets instead of 5. And under the 3 tax bracket system, the lower class would be under the 12% tax bracket, middle class 22%, and upper class 28%. As it relates to health savings, it stated that one initiative to reduce the deficit is to reduce the excess payments to hospitals for medical education, as well as to cut payments for bad debts. And by bad debts, it means oftentimes hospitals have patients who are supposed to pay copays on their insurance, and they may not pay those copays. And for Medicaid patients in particular, if the patient doesn't pay, the federal government will subsidize that payment. And here the commission is stating that the federal government should no longer do that. So with these recommendations, I want to know what you, the listeners, think. Do you think that the government should implement all these recommendations, or do you think that some should be implemented and some shouldn't? and let me know which ones you think are good and which ones do not sound as if it would be a good idea for the decrease in the deficit. Tweet me at Regina Sun ESQ and let me know what you think. Thanks for listening, and that is today's Legal Moment.